All right. Well, a few quick announcements this morning. Our We Fuel. Our refuel is this Wednesday, again, 6 o'clock. This Wednesday, we have pancakes and fresh fruit every Wednesday. This Wednesday, the added piece to that is going to be like several types of egg casseroles. So that'll be alongside of that if you like your thing. By the way, if you are gluten intolerant or dairy intolerant or whatever, I'll have pancakes for you too. So don't worry, you can come and be a part of that. But that's at 6 o'clock. It's $5 an adult. Now, the only thing I have to say about that is we haven't been getting everyone to contribute to that like we should. So we're running in the negative a lot. So we just want to encourage you, please come with that. $5 per adult. Kids eat free. Trust me, it's cheaper than Culver's. I promise you, it's cheaper than Culver's. So come and be a part of that. We're learning about prayer, and it's been really good so far. So I want to ask you to be a part of that. Men's breakfast is this Saturday, 8 o'clock in the morning, right there at McDonald's. Even if you don't like the food, get a cup of coffee. And let's just enjoy some fellowship together. We've been working through the Sermon on the Mount as men, and so we're going to do that again this Saturday, 8 o'clock. Now, our third Saturday this month is 2 Saturdays from now, and it's our service Saturday. We try to do a couple a year, and we're doing, again, Kids Against Hunger, and this was brought in. Missy brought this in. Megan's kind of leading that. Are you looking at me like, am I doing something wrong? Okay, good. Are you sure? Okay. So there's all kinds of stuff in here, and I'll pull it all out. There's things to get to know, what this is for. We've got this little funnel system that we're going to use to put over bags, and you funnel all the rice and stuff. I'm just going to pull stuff out. It's like a magic trick, except there's no magic, because nothing's going to happen fancy. You'll have to wear an apron, you'll have to wear a hairnet, and then we open up these bags and we prepare basically these kits that go to kids all around the world. And I can't remember how much they feed, but it's several meals per bag for kids who don't have access to food. So we are raising money for this. We have to pay for the boxes ahead of time. That's on us as a church. So all this stuff will be back. I'll have Megan set it up before you get back there today. I know, I just put that on her. All that stuff, all that said, they're at $54 a box. And so we need to come together. Last year when we did this, we raised enough money to fill 22 boxes, which for us at the time as a small church was really, really, really good. And so we'd love to get close to that again. And I know $54 is a lot, I know. But if you can find like one less time at El Charro or something like that, you can pay for a box. I know, that's a big sacrifice, but promise you can do it. But let's try to meet that goal. We're hoping for 20 boxes. We'd love to fill more, but we need to get all of that money collected so that they know how much stuff to bring before they bring their trailers and set up. That whole foyer will be set up with tables. The kids will be working on it. You'll be working on it. It's a really good time. So just want to encourage you to be a part of that. So if you could give. If you want to give or you want to contribute, you can give online. You just write, Third Saturday or Kids Against Hunger or something like that. If you want to do a check, that's fine too. Just put Kids Against Hunger on there as Third Saturday. And then you can take, if you have cash or you want to give cash, there's offering envelopes out there. Just write what that is for. Does that sound good? But let's do that. Let's try to meet that 20-plus box goal that we have this year to bless as many children as possible. So we're excited about that in 2 Saturdays. That's from 5 to 8. So we'll have the first part, we'll be filling up all the bags, and then we'll just celebrate and have some food afterwards and that kind of thing. Sound good? You have to go. You got to come. You got to serve, right? Yeah, amen. VBS is right around the corner. And I'm not stressed out so much anymore because I don't have to do anything but walk around with preschoolers this time. So to all you who are running stations, I'm sorry. It's going to be really stressful this year. But that's the 5th through the 9th. Be praying about that. I think Caitlin said we have 28 kids signed up so far. And so if you've got a couple more days, if you know someone that wants to come or that is going to come, a couple of more days to register and get a shirt. But if you don't register past that certain time, we can't get a shirt. So make sure they get signed up tomorrow. So come on now, get them signed up. But seriously, it's going really well so far. We're going to need a lot of help decorating this year because we have to turn this whole sanctuary and foyer into a cave. It's going to be pretty awesome. and you'll have to sit through 2 Sunday services in a cave. But, it is what it is. Just want to invite you to be a part of that with it. Bluegrass, no, that's
bluegrass in the cave.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I have a fundamental disagreement with bluegrass.
They do gospel.
I know.
No.
No, not sing bluegrass. That's all I got. Just, great. Yeah. Okay, back on track. So anyway, be praying about VBS. Really be praying about that. 2 final, just quick updates. Want to let you know that we had our Brothers Pizza fundraiser for children's ministry just a couple weeks ago, and we raised $300 for children's ministry through that time. That was really nice. That's just buying pizza, so can't lose there. And I also want to let you know for VBS that we needed to raise $2,000, and we raised right around $2,050 to cover all of VBS and a little bit more. So we're really excited about VBS, and thank you for being faithful and being a part of that. Now just be praying for all those who prepare, and pray that God's Spirit is known amongst the children that come to our church that day, that week. It's a whole week. Yeah, I'm excited. Okay. Now, we had a special event this week with a little boy named Lincoln who was born just earlier this week. Leah had her baby. And so Carrie's going to come and share just real quick just some updates on Meal Train and being able to love on. I know, y'all are like, we've been feeding so many people. Good. Yeah. Yes. Feed more.
So we are still doing the Meal Train for Pam and Mike, and that has been a huge blessing. You guys have been so generous. She actually said, we don't need it quite as often. We have a lot of leftovers. So that's been awesome. So if you noticed on the calendar, I kind of scaled back a little bit. We are still doing that for them. And so please continue to bless them. I know that has meant the world to them, that they've just felt that outpouring of love. But to tag on this Kids Against Hunger, we got some hungry kids. Leah has her own little troop that she's trying to feed, and Jacob's going back to work this week, and so I'll have that up live this week that you can sign up. We're asking that people just, if you take a meal, you're going to drop it off at her on the porch. We just don't want to, expose the kiddos and the baby to germs. But I think that it would also be nice if you're bringing them a hot meal or ordering them pizza or bringing them takeout. I'm sure they would be fine with that. Also throw in maybe some mac and cheese or maybe some, a freezer pizza so that they could do something kind of during the day because she has 12 mouths to feed or something like that. Not quite 12, but it seems like 12 to her, I know. And I know she is super excited but super tired. So we just want to bless her and support them and make sure those kiddos feel loved as well from this church. So look for that on Facebook later this afternoon. If you're not online or if you aren't able to access the online schedule and you would like to contribute, please just see me. I've done that with other people, and you can just give me cash and I'll make sure something gets to them when we need. So just see me. But thank you so much for blessing our other family, but thank you in advance for blessing this family. We're super excited.
Yeah. Now, they live in Waynetown, so if you don't want to make that drive or you can't, just let us know, and we'll make sure it gets out to them. So you can always bring that to my house, or you can meet up with somebody to make that done. Melanie would be willing to help with that as well. So you got the trifecta here. Let's just bless Jacob and Leah and celebrate a little baby boy. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it was only 9 pounds 4 ounces. He wasn't 12. It was a good. I was a bit disappointed. 12 pounds, this would be incredible. I don't have to deal with it. It's just fun to say. Well, let's, good, thank you for that. Let's take a breath this morning and let's center our hearts. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning, we give you thanks. Thank you for this space, for this moment to hear your word. God, I just pray that whatever's said today would be yours and not mine. I pray, God, for every person here that you would soften their hearts and open their minds, Open their ears to hear what you'd have to say to them and to us as a church. We just surrender this moment to you, and we give you thanks. It's in the name of Christ we pray. Amen. We're going to be in Mark chapter 5 today. Mark chapter 5, 21 to 34. I'll give you a minute to get there. Mark chapter 5, 21 to 34. I've had a morning. It's been a very, very kind of traumatic morning. So part of my rhythm for my Sunday mornings is off today. So typically I save this introduction question till Sunday mornings because it gives me time to ruminate on everything that's going to be said and really kind of center. Didn't get to that today. It's been a day. But all I've been thinking about this week is this idea of inconvenience. Inconvenience. And so rather than ask you a question, because I don't know how to ask it, I didn't have time today to think of it. I know that's weird that I save things, but I do on purpose. I thought about being inconvenienced, and one of the things that is the most inconveniencing thing for me as a parent. And so as I tell my story, maybe you'll think of something. And I want you to think about this and keep this in your mind throughout the day. There's nothing like, and Carrie can attest to this, she's probably more vocal about her agitation than I am in this moment. But nothing like spending all evening making dinner, right? And sitting all the plates out and getting all the kids down and getting all the plates filled up for food. I don't know, some of you don't know what a dinner table is, but we still have one. And, no offense, do what you want to do. But nothing like getting that all out. And then you finally sit down, you get your plate made, you get ready to eat, and then this happens. Mom, Dad, can I have a fork? Or can I have a cup of milk? Or can I have this? And they don't want to they're lazy, but they don't want to get up. But as soon as you sit down, that's when I need something, apparently, in my house. It's not just dinner time, it's all the time. It seems like you sit down to take a load off in front of the couch, and then here they come. I need this, I need this, I need this. Typically, Carrie she's gotten to the point where she gets a little shorter with them, and she's like, Are you done eating? No. Have you started eating? No. Then get up and get it yourself. Because it's really inconveniencing, isn't it? Like, it's not fun to have this objective, right? Like, I got something to do. I've got your dinner plates ready. Now I want to eat. I need to eat, right? And then, boom, you got to stop before you could even get started, or right in the middle of it because your kid can't survive without a cup of milk. You live through something like that in your daily life, or your old daily life maybe. You know what I'm talking about? And I think it extends beyond kids or whatever. You know what it's like to have things to do and to be interrupted in the midst of some really important things and inconvenienced to fix something or take care of something that you can't do that yourself. You know what I'm talking about? Have you been there before? I wish I knew what question to ask you there, but we'll just go with that today. You've heard that. It is who we are as a people. We have a lot to do, right? And as a people, we get programmed in our brain like the things that need to happen in the order they need to happen. And if you need something, you got to ask me here, or I got to be able to stop there. But once I kind of get going, I've got to get that done. And it's a lot of important stuff, right? It's not like it's frivolous stuff. There's really important things for us to do. We're busy people. And one of the top agitators is when you feel like you've got to stop what you're doing to take care of something that's might be important too, but you got this other thing to do. I've been thinking about inconvenience all week long. What it means to be inconvenienced, what it means to be busy, what it means to have things to do and be interrupted. And the visceral response that tends to come out of us as people when we are interrupted. when we are inconvenienced because of something or anything, really. Thinking about interruptions, thinking about inconvenience, it's also really easy, I think, as church folk, to feel the same way when it comes to our neighbors. Because we've got a lot of important things to do and a lot of things that must need to be done. And I'm wondering if this culture, because I think this is partly nurture here, this culture of no interruption. You know, we like to sequester off children into their own rooms, make sure they don't interrupt us in a church service. We like to do this, that, or the other, kind of compartmentalized life. If this culture of no interruptions, no inconvenience, make things as simple as they can be and make sure they're streamlined, how has that bled into our lives as Christian folk? Has it? I just want us to think about how easy it is. I want you to think about today how easy it is to get agitated. Or how easy it is to just kind of be like, I don't have time for that today. And think about the feelings and the emotions that goes through your mind when you feel like that for whatever reason. I want you to hold on to that because I would venture to say that we all feel that way in a lot of regards, and sometimes it's even with the things that maybe God puts before us to do. So what happens when God interrupts our day? How do we respond then? Well, let's get to our text, because I think this story of Jesus has something to say about that and helps us in this time of Be the Light. Remember, it's Be the Light. So we're talking about tie-dye t-shirts and making a difference. But let's read our text today, Mark 5, 21 to 34. NRSV, words are on the screen if you need it. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered around him, and he was by the sea. Then one of the leaders of the synagogue named Jairus came, and when he saw him, he fell at his feet, and he begged him repeatedly, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live." So Jesus went with him. And a large crowd followed him and pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had. And she was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, for she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and he said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." These are the words of God for the people of God. You can say it with me, "Thanks be to God." Amen. Well, let's get a picture of what's happening here. Jesus is surrounded by a crowd as soon as he got off the boat. No doubt, people who were seeking healing, people who were there wanting to hear what he had to say and have him teach them. But there were a lot of people that swarmed Jesus the moment he got off the boat. Then came this man named Jairus, right? He had an emergency. He needed immediate help. His daughter was dying. So he begged Jesus to come with him so that he could touch her and heal her. And so Jesus followed him. Now, I want us to get an understanding. It's pretty simple. This was not a leisurely walk. I can't imagine it being slow. For sure, Jairus was walking quickly, right? You would think so. He's on a mission. There's something that needs to be done quickly. And so Jesus following him means that Jesus was probably right in step with Jairus in the hurried walk to get to his daughter. So an appropriate visual, I think, for us to have of Jesus in this story is he was in a bit of a hurry. Jesus was in a hurry. There was something important that needed to be done. Someone was depending on him to get there and do it. So this was not a leisurely walk. He was in a rush. He's on his way, and he's got this herd of people pressing in on him. And I can imagine Jesus being constantly touched, constantly bumped into by the crowd of people. This woman, as you know, heard of Jesus. She'd been bleeding for so long. Even after consulting with the best doctors of her time, finds herself only getting worse. She decides she's going to take a risk. She's full of desperation. I don't even want to touch him. If I can just touch his clothes, then maybe I'll be made well. And so she did. She reached out, she touched his clothes, and she immediately felt the ripple of healing go throughout her body. But Jesus felt it too, the power leaving his body. Okay, so before we move on, let's remind ourselves, Jesus is in a hurry. There's something very important Jesus is on a mission to do. There's an important job that needs to be done. Someone dependent on. And it was at this point that I think Jesus had a choice. Keep walking and ignore it, knowing that, well, obviously what needed to be done happened. Or stop and find the person. Which sounds like an easy choice when you know the story, right? He's in a hurry. There's something important to do. To stop would mean, and this is so important, for Jesus to stop would mean something will not get done or might not get done that is really needing to be done. But Jesus stopped. Stopped right where he was, and he began an investigation. Who touched me? His disciples were understandably confused, right? Like, everyone? And Jesus has another choice here. There's no way to know, right? Jesus has another choice here. Should he keep searching for the person or get on his way and get back to doing what he was supposed to be doing, what was so important to do? And here's what it says in verse 32. And I think this is so good. It says, he looked all around to see who had done it. And I think that verse paints a really good picture for us this morning. Jesus was searching. Jesus was looking everywhere for this person. Everything else that was on Jesus' schedule in this moment was officially put on hold so that he could find this person that touched him. Important thing, on hold, so he can do this searching. And then finally, this woman comes forward. She's afraid. She's embarrassed. It was me. And then I love this. Here he is. Everything's on hold. She comes up. He finds her, right? He does this investigation. And then he stands there and listens to her tell the whole story. Her desperate faith to touch his clothes. And then I want to say, then came the real healing. Daughter, he says. He kind of redefined her identity. And then he reaffirmed her belief, your faith has made you well. And then he sent her in a new direction. Go in peace. Go making peace. And be healed of your disease. I was attracted to this passage because Jesus was very busy that day. He had a lot to do, a very important job that needed to be done. And the last thing that should have been expected from Jesus was to stop to find a woman who had touched his clothes and was already healed. That's the last thing that should be expected of Jesus. She was healed already. He didn't really need to stop, yet he did. Because for her to be healed of more than just her disease, to have new hope and a new identity, a real connection with a real Savior, for her to find real healing beyond her disease, she needed Jesus' attention. And so he stopped. My sermons are getting fast. I really don't know what to do with myself. It was just before my sophomore year of high school. We lived in this little town called Freedom, Indiana. Anybody know where Freedom, Indiana is? You don't, because it's a spit in the pan. The few of us hillbillies, we know where it is. Listen, I'm from there. I'm a hillbilly. It's okay. Oh, I'm from there. I'm allowed to say that. Just before my sophomore year, we were living in Freedom, Indiana. It was a winter night, snow on the ground, really cold. And I remember our power had gone out in the house, except only in the front half of the house. And so that's where all the bedrooms were. It's where the dining room, the kitchen, the living room was, in the front of the house. In the back of the house was my dad's bedroom and our bathroom. And so the power went out on this winter night in the front half of the house, and so we ran this power cable. Some of you heard this story before. We ran this power cable from the back bathroom all the way through the kitchen, through the dining room, into the living room. And all of us 6 kids and my mom huddled up in the living room and stoked a little fire in the wood stove to stay warm. And we huddled up in that living room with TV going because everyone was in there and just kind of trying to get to sleep. It must have been close to 1 o'clock in the morning. I was up, as any teenager should be, watching the movie Independence Day. Because that was the bomb.com back then. That was such a good movie. And as I was sitting there watching Independence Day, the power went out again. I thought, okay, well, maybe the cable fell out from the wall. So I got up and I walked back through the dining room, through the kitchen, going towards the bathroom to plug this extension cord back into the wall. And on my way, I felt this strange warmth in this area. And I thought, okay, well, whatever. And I go on, because the movie's on, So I go to the bathroom, and I realize the power cord's still in. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Maybe it's back on. So I turn around, I leave the bathroom, and I'm like 12 years old. I'm processing all this. And I leave the bathroom, I walk through the kitchen, and I find in that hot pocket once again. And I think, okay, that's a little weird, right? So I go on and I wake up my dad, and I said, Dad, can you come here? There's just like weird over here. There's some warmth. So my dad gets up. And we look up at this white flat ceiling, and it looks like toasted marshmallow. And so Dad says, he grabs a broom, and he goes to, hit the ceiling. And like a warm knife through butter, no pun intended, I guess, it goes right through the ceiling. No force at all. And he pulls the broomstick out, and you can see the flicker of light in the attic. So then panic sets in. My dad says, get everybody out of the house. And so here we wake up my they were little back then. We wake up my sisters, wake up my younger brother. We get them out of the house into Mom's the old tourist station wagons when they redid them. We had one of those. It was so cool. But anyway, we get the kids and we're hauling them all out. And we get them into the back of the car. Then we run back into the house and we're grabbing some blankets and we're grabbing some clothes and we're just grabbing what we can grab. The very few things that we could. And we knew that it was a bad situation, about to get worse. It was at that time, it was a 100-year-old home. And so it's just a matchbox, right? So I remember we gathered up blankets, we gathered up some clothes, we ran out. And as all of us got out, I turn around, and just as I turn around, the flames start billowing out of the roof, just rolling over the top of the roof. And then, there's no doubt in your mind. Snow on the ground, it's really cold. Kids are huddled up in a car. That was the end of it. There's no saving anything in that house from that point on. Now, I was feeling pretty desperate as a young kid. Our whole lives were going up in smoke. And so I ran down to a payphone. They still had those back then. right on 231. Just this one payphone in all of Freedom, Indiana. I run down to the highway, and I make a collect call. And I was to Lloyd and Connie Jones, who were my youth leaders at my local church. And so I left that little message, hey, it's an emergency or something. I can't remember exactly what I said. I just let them know that I needed them. And so they took that call. And they heard the story, and immediately, without a thought and without any reservation, they said, we'll be right there. So here it is. It's really late at night. They live 15 minutes away. They have kids of their own. They had all important realities, all important things to take care of, all kinds of reasons to stay at home and say, we're praying for you. Call us in the morning. Let us know if you need anything. Right? They had all the reasons in the world to just keep doing what they were doing. Instead, they stopped, if you want to call it stop. They stopped, and they drove 15 minutes to my burning house. And then they wrapped me up in their arms. I remember Lloyd hugged me so hard that my face hurt. It was uncomfortable, but it was needed. They sat with me in this minivan at the bottom of the hill down from our house. And they just sat with me and talked to me, and we watched just. I remember the flames crawling up the side of the house. Made sure I had a place to go, made sure we had a place to go. They even called me the next day to say, you okay? What can we do? Do you need to come stay with us for a little bit? It was a hard night. We lost everything. Everything. But the most impactful thing, the most healing thing that happened to me that night was nothing more than someone stopping. Nothing more than just somebody ignoring the inconvenience and showing up to love on me when literally my whole life was going up in smoke. I needed someone. They had a lot of things to take care of themselves, but they answered that call, and quickly. I will always remember that story. Not just because my house burned down. What I remember more than the house is who showed up when they didn't have to. Just to be there and squeeze my face. It was a good squeeze. You know, in a twisted up world where life is hard, life is broken, life is painful. Yeah, it's good sometimes, but you and I both know it seems to be a little out of balance most of the time. And overall, life is hard. And life is broken and difficult. In a twisted world where that's true, there are so many people in our community alone who are searching for meaning, searching for purpose, for well-being, for community, or for wholeness of some sort. And like the woman, they're reaching out, and I really do believe this, and you see it in all the things people are attracted to. They are reaching out to find the healing that they can't seem to find anywhere else. But they're desperately reaching out. Do you know what our neighbors need more than anything? Not a lecture on how to get their life together. Not judgment for the situation that they are in. Not a holler from a car window as we're moving on to the next important thing. You know what our world needs more than anything? Is simply people filled with the hope and the love of the gospel of Jesus Christ to stop what they are doing, no matter how important it is in a moment, and share that same hope and that love with them. To stop and offer to them real purpose, meaning in life beyond working and collecting stuff that doesn't go with you when you die anyway. Healing and even community. But man, we are busy. We're busy in all the right ways. We have a lot. You and I, we can all agree, right? We have a lot of really important things to do on the road that need to get done. There are people, our futures, dependent on what we do right now, isn't it? Our children are dependent on what we're doing right now. Our parents are dependent on what we're doing right now, whatever it might be. They're dependent on what we are doing. So these are good things. They're essential things. They're the right things to be busy with. I'm not talking about the frivolous stuff. I'm talking about the important stuff, just like Jesus walking on a road to heal a girl. But because we are so busy trying to secure our present and trying so diligently to secure our future, we're so carried away with all the things that we have to do, that need to get done, that we don't take the time to stop, to set it aside, and to love on people outside of that narrative. Because it's inconvenient, and it's an interruption. I mean, surely. I mean, we acknowledge that our world is twisted up, right? That's not anything new. And we see the people in our community, people that you and I know, who are lost or who are struggling or suffering or hurting because it's been whatever, searching. But we're really good at just not stopping and moving on to secure the next important thing that we're supposed to be doing. Because I think that's how we've been wired. Take care of yourself. It's like the airplane thing, you know, the mask comes down, put on your own mask first, and then worry about everyone else's mask, right? It's how we've been nurtured. Interruption. Inconvenience is difficult. And in the church, I think that's what's happened. People are searching, but we have really good and important things to do. All I wanted to say this week is, my friends, a twisted world needs us to be like Jesus and stop. He had really important things to do. But he stopped. Our neighbors who have had a hard year need us to stop to offer encouragement. Stop what we're doing and just say, I'm with you. It's going to be okay. Our neighbors who feel lonely need us to stop what we are doing and offer them a real community. Our neighbors who are hurting, who feel hopeless, need us to stop what we are doing to talk about what real hope is and offer that same thing to them. Our neighbors who feel invisible need us to stop what we are doing to say, I see you, I see you, I see you. Our neighbors who are searching for meaning, searching for more out of life, need us to stop what we are doing so we can point them in the right direction. Because the most meaningful thing in a person's life is not stuff or an occasional hello. It's not, I'm praying for you over the phone. Call us tomorrow and let us know if you have a place to go. That's not the most meaningful thing in a person's life. It's when people set aside all the things that they have to do and they live into the inconvenience and they prioritize them. That's the most meaningful thing that's ever happened to you in your life. To find them in the midst of a crowd, to look for them and say, I see you and I'm not leaving until we figure it out. It's Be the Light. It's that campaign that we've been doing. We do every Eastertide for 5 full weeks and 6 Sundays. It's Be the Light. We call it not random acts of kindness. And it's the season where we purposefully bombard our community, our neighbors, all of us collectively. We're supposed to, I hope, bombarding our community with really purposeful acts of kindness and love and mercy and hope. And we do it with letters and all of those things to let them know, I'm doing this because Jesus loves me and I see you and I love you too. And then we do this every single year to just bombard our community with the light of Christ because of what Christ has done for us. We do these things knowing how problematic life is, how difficult things are, how big the problems are, how almost impossible it seems to even make a dent in the issues that people are facing. We do it also knowing that we are small, and what in the world do we have to offer that could realistically make a difference in somebody's life? But like a tie-dye t-shirt, we believe that just a few small drops of color can seep in deep in the shirt and transform the canvas. And acts of love and kindness that are purposeful have the same effect in a person's life. As small as they may be, they will work into the person's life and begin to do a change in their life. And they become the seeds that God can use to break the rubber bands and begin to unravel their life. We believe this is possible, and that's why we do this, to bombard them in this way. And oftentimes when thinking about, because, these are hard things to do, it puts us on the spot. When thinking about, okay, well, it's this 5-week time, like, what are we going to do? What are we supposed to do? We get these big ideas, like, I don't know what to do, because what am I supposed to do? It's got to be really big. And then we struggle. Like, what do I do? Friends, at its core, Be the Light is simply about stopping. It's about setting aside all that important stuff. And it's important, I know. That's why it's a sacrifice. It's about setting aside all that important stuff to prioritize someone else. It's about ignoring the inconvenience and showing up just to love on somebody whose life seems like it's going up in smoke. It's just that simple. It's about living our everyday Christian life. Everyday Christian life. To share the love of Christ that we have received with people who are searching and hoping for more. Taking time, listen, it's this simple. It's taking time out of our busy schedule to write them a letter, or to take them out to lunch, or to have a phone conversation, or to invite them over for a meal and fellowship. It was last Wednesday that I was at my office. Those of you that know me know that's not here on a Wednesday morning. I was not feeling well. Last week was miserable. But I went to my office anyway because it was Wednesday. That's Breakfast Company, just so you know. I go to Breakfast Company and I have my meal, and I just had this feeling. I know who it is. Every year I bless somebody that serves me. I go to Breakfast Company every week. Every year I just say, whoever serves me today, I'm going to love on. I'm going to write them a letter, let them know that I love them, that kind of thing. This year I knew that it couldn't be random. This year I knew that there was one person that I needed to be the light to because of how she's been the light to me over the past almost 4 years. So I was sitting there and I ate my breakfast and they were busy and I wasn't feeling good, and I thought, I'm just going to go. I got up out of my chair. I always sit at the bar and I go to put my jacket on, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I don't feel good, but I know this is what I got to do today. So I sit back down and I have nothing in front of me, and I pull out my folder and I pull out that little letterhead that has Be the Light on it, and I just begin to write a letter. Well, I wrote it on a piece of paper first because, chicken scratch. I wrote this letter to her and I said, hey, you've been the light to me. You asked my name. You call me by name every time I come in. And calling me by name doesn't seem like that much, but it means the world to walk in and know that someone knows your name. And so, I just want you to have this little gift. It's the least that I can do, and it's not enough. But I hope it meets you where you are, and I hope you know that this pastor loves you, sees you, and is praying that you get to live your very best life. Josh. Was it. Wrapped it up, and I put it in an envelope, and I went to pay, and I gave the envelope with the gal's name on it to the girl at the register, and I said, "Can you make sure this gets to her real quick?" "Oh, yeah, I can do that." And I just left. I don't hang around. I don't need to see what happened. Come back Thursday, because Lily stayed home from school. Not this past Thursday, it was the Thursday before. She didn't get enough sleep. That was annoying. But I looked at her and I said, "Hey, I got to go to work today. I got to work on my sermon. Thursday's my day." I was like, "So how about, I know you're tired, but how about we go to Breakfast Company and we just have breakfast? You can have whatever you want." So we go. Walk in the door and there she is. "Josh, I don't need to tell you anything. Except for this," she said. That had to have been the Lord. Because she said, "I've been going through all my bills, and I didn't have enough to cover this $98 bill. I gave her $100. Now, it's not about money. I tell you that not to brag. No, you know me better than that. I tell you to say that when you trust that God is leading you to love on someone, you also know that it's for a reason. And as small as this, listen, $100 doesn't get you much anymore. You can barely get a bag of groceries for it, you know what I mean? I just wanted to love on her a little bit and let her know I really do appreciate and love her. But God opened a door, and had I just got up and done what was necessary, I didn't feel good. There were other things I needed to do. Go back to bed and stop being miserable. But I had to stop. Friends, that's all it's about. Not just to be the light, but every moment of every day. You have to believe that God opens doors for you all throughout your day. That if you just stop and say, "Well, this is a little inconvenient, but I don't know what God wants to do. So it looks like I got something to do." You don't know just what will happen because of what you stopped and took the time to do for someone that needs it. Our Christian lives too often are caught up in the show of consuming. Teach me. Sing the great songs. Fill me up, fill me up, fill me up. And that's not a wrong thing, but the pendulum shifts too much sometimes. And what I want to encourage you today is to say, listen, if you're open to it, this is your calling in life. You want purpose as a Christian, this is your purpose in life. It's to stop what you're doing, to see your neighbor, bring that pendulum back up, and just take a risk. You know who they are. You know what they're going through. It's just to stop and to trust. God, I don't know what you're going to do with what you're asking me to do, but I know that you will do something with it. And the world, my friends, our community at Crawfordsville, Indiana, I'm reminded of it this morning to a T this morning. You have no idea what I've been through today. But I am convinced, as bad as this morning was and as bad as what happened was, that it's still important to stop because God's not done redeeming God's world, as broken as it may be. That you and I are part of God's redemptive plan to see God's kingdom built on this side of heaven. So don't despair over how bad the problems are. Just be the light and know that God will use it. So we've been praying all week. All week. We've been praying the whole series, the whole season, not for ourselves. It's the 6 Sundays where I'm not asking you to come down and pray for yourself. I'm asking you to pray for the people that you need the courage to stop and love on. That's good enough. So if you know someone that's really hurting or really had a tough year or just feels invisible, it's a good time to come to the altar and God, help me do something. And pray for them. Give me the courage. Give me the strength. So I'm going to invite you to come and do that. You don't have to come, If it's you, then I do invite you to come. If you are the one feeling lonely or that you've had a hard year, you can come. We'll stop everything. And I know Jesus will be there. So let's pray together.